Begin self-publishing, episode number 18. Tim rants about the media.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
Today's show is a rant that I have about a recent press article I read at the weekend. If you are lucky enough to live in the United Kingdom, then one of the major newspapers on a Sunday is called the Sunday Times. I occasionally get it for free when I go to a local supermarket that does an offer for a free paper if you pay a certain amount of money. So I've started to read newspapers more, despite the fact that they are, from my point of view, quite an old-fashioned media source. However, on this week's Sunday Times, there was an article, How to Fake a Bestseller. It in some ways annoyed me. There were some good points about the article, but some of the claims and the language used were quite misrepresentative. And like with many things, I feel it misrepresents self-publishing. The articles referred to on the front page is How to Fake a Bestseller, and it described how a Sunday Times undercover team had managed to fake their way onto the Amazon chart with a self-published book by paying a ghostwriter in India to knock off a quick and dirty book and then paying people to put in fake reviews of the book. Now, I know this sort of thing goes on, but my problem with the article was that the language used and the implication that it was quite easy to create a best-selling book. If you look at it strictly, what they did was create a best-selling ebook. In the gardening and horticulture section, on the UK Amazon ebook store, they managed to get to number 1. However, for people who actually know anything about Amazon, especially at Amazon.uk, you'll know that actually there's a wide variety of charts that you can pick. Gardening and horticulture is one of the small categories underneath home and garden. Most people who buy gardening books buy physical paperback books or hardbacks. They don't generally buy ebooks. So to say this section is uncompetitive is a slight overstatement. The thing that annoyed me about the article was that they were suggesting because they bought reviews, suddenly their book flew into the Amazon chart. Amazon's charts aren't based on reviews at all. They're only based purely on sales. So their insinuation that buying reviews got them into the charts, while actually true, is not true in the way they suggested. It's not the reviews that got them into the charts. It's the people buying the book for free that got them into the charts. Clearly they had the book on Amazon for at least a month before they got these reviews. Because you need at least a month before you can kick in and put on these KDP Select free day scheme. And they mentioned this in the article themselves. Their book, Everything Bonsai, must have been on sale on the ebook chart for at least a month before they activated this free day to get all these verified reviews. All the verified review means on Amazon is that the person actually purchased the book. And this is true if the book is free or not free. So if you run a free promotion and get a lot of fake people to buy the book at that time, yes, it will help push up the book into a chart. But this is such a minor chart. I actually went through and looked at the current number 1 in this gardening and horticulture section, and it's number 13,133 on the paid in Kindle store. Now remember, this is the UK store. We obviously haven't got access to direct sales figures. We do know the rankings compared to other charts and genres. If you pick something like steampunk in science fiction, and steampunk's popular-ish, but it's not that popular, so derivative science fiction section, Number 10 steampunk is 4,972 in the UK Amazon chart. And even number 20 is 12,736, which is higher up the charts than 13,133. So this highfalutin, best-selling gardening and horticulture book is actually less selling than what would even get you onto the first page of the charts on steampunk, which is a fairly derivative science fiction category. Even number 1 in the occult book ebook section was 8,460 in the Amazon chart. So to say this was an easy chart to get into is an understatement. If they really wanted to have manipulated the chart, they could have just got people to buy the book and paid the money on that. One glaring omission from their article, which is probably because actually they didn't make any money whatsoever from doing this, is the fact they don't mention anything about any revenue they might have gained from this book. My suspicion is they made no money whatsoever from this particular effort, because really, people are not going to want to read about bonsai trees on an ebook. And fake reviews often are extremely obvious to spot from people. In fact, a book with no bad reviews at all is always a little bit on the suspicious side. You can usually tell when you get you get a whole mass of good reviews and then you get 1 or 2 bad reviews about a book. Now, there's always an element of this with every ebook, because people will get their friends and families and maybe they'll run promotions and things. They get followers of their books. But obviously, fake reviewed book, it's a lot more obvious. I suppose my main objection to this article is that people aren't championing the fact that people can now self-publish books. I mean, get a book out into the world and have this enormous opportunity. The only time that self-publishing ever gets mentioned in the media is when there's some hint of fraud or incompetence or something bad. Now, this is kind of understandable because people who work in journalism often have highfalutin ideas of getting publishing deals. That's the whole world that they grew up in. While that is understandable, I do hate the way that these articles sensationalise and demean self-publishing as if it's all just some big scam. This article does mention about Kindle people making lots of money online, trying to perpetuate this myth that maybe existed for a while, that you can make loads of money by just quickly subcontracting a poor book to somebody in India, shoving it on Kindle, and then millions of pounds will come into your account. The days when you could do this have long since passed. There may be rare situations where the information is so valuable that despite lots of typographical and other formatting issues, that a book does well. And similarly, having a ghost-written book isn't necessarily a reason that your book won't succeed. If quality and care is spent on a ghost-written book, then it could succeed. Many of the large autobiographies and other things you see by major publishing houses are actually ghost-written. Sometimes they tell you about this and sometimes they don't. To make out that self-publishers are just hiring ghostwriters in India and then quickly knocking out rubbish and getting into the charts, and it's all some big scam, as is insinuated but not actually stated in this article, really annoys me. There's another great, more general media myth about self-publishing going around, which is as much to do with understanding of the statistics as anything else. There's this idea that's been peddled around that ebook sales are going down, when in fact ebook sales aren't going down. What's going down is the number that are represented with ISBN numbers. Now, the reason for this is if you self-publish on Amazon using the KDP platform, you don't need to have an ISBN number for the ebook. The trouble is that ISBN numbers are used by the publishing statistics companies to work out how many books have been sold. So because the number of independent authors who aren't buying ISBN numbers for their ebooks has shot up, the actual number of ebooks with ISBNs that the publishing industry and the media tracks has been going down. But various sites like Author Earnings, which skim the data off the Amazon website, will tell you that actually ebook sales are going up, and it's just the proportion that have got ISBNs that are going down. But the number of articles I've seen saying that, everybody's going back to print, we don't have to worry about ebooks. Again, it's just all silly to me. I'm less worried about that because it seems more like a delusional thing by people in the publishing industry. They don't need to worry about all these self-publishers and people selling ebooks. They can just be like the dinosaurs and keep staring at the sky with the big comet coming down and say, oh no, it's not going to hit. No, we can't see it going to hit at all. Anyway, I hope you don't mind me having a slight rant episode. Bringing to bear the fact that there are fake reviews on sites like Amazon isn't necessarily a bad thing for the papers to do. It's just a kind of hint that it's all some big scam, and that the only times anybody ever hears about self-publishing is one, when they think there's some scam involved, or when somebody's made some large fortune doing some book that everybody doesn't like 50 Shades of Grey. I wish there was more coverage of all the people who are making a living, or at least making an income of some kind out of self-publishing. For many writers, self-publishing is a much more rewarding choice than trying to hawk their book around various small publishing companies. And I really wish that people just were allowed to make the choice with a fair amount of information rather than being fed media articles that just put a downer on everything all the time. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next week when I'm going to have an interview show. Yes, I've promised them before, but I've got a few booked now, so there will be a few more interview shows, and maybe I'll come back with a more in-depth technical show after that. Talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.